Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Danny Taylor, co-owner of Vegan Proteins Online Coaching. And today I am doing something completely different that I've never done before. I'm doing a reaction video, and I always have thought that although this is kind of like lazy content because you're reacting to somebody else's hard work, I also find myself watching a lot of reaction videos to see what other people that I look up to think about certain videos. So I enjoy watching them. I've never made one. This is entirely new technology to me, and it was like a lot to set up. So hopefully you guys like it. If you do, please let me know. Let me know if there's any videos you would like to see us react to. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the channel Jubilee. They do a lot of what they call middle ground episodes, and I love these episodes. They take two seemingly very opposing viewpoints and have those people sit down and they ask them questions. They have them either agree or disagree, and then they have a discussion. And I found this old one called Fat Influencers versus Fit Influencers, and I haven't seen it, so I'm going to watch it now and live react to it, and bear with me while I figure out this technology here.
My name's Timothea, and fitness has been a huge part of my life, and I love to share what I know about it. Overall, it's just a way of life.
My name is Tyler. I'm a fat influencer, and on my platform, I like to spread body positivity, mental health awareness, and fashion, looking good while fat.
So when I think of the word fat influencers, I think of influencers who are either promoting others to be fat in the same sense that fitness influencers promote fitness.
I don't like people that obsess over being fat, just like I don't like people that obsess over fitness. I'm in my own fitness journey, and a lot of people like it because I'm not the stereotypical dude.
The misconception that the opposite side has of me is that I have some agenda to keep people fat, to promote obesity, to tell anybody anything about their size.
Okay, so that's the panel. We have the fit influencers on the right, which I do think is interesting that one of the fit influencers does seem to be fairly overweight. So I'm curious what he's going to have to say. And then I like the two on the right, especially the gal, because it looked like she was doing things like yoga in her videos, which I don't think is what most people think of when they think of fat influencers. I think this is a really interesting topic, and I want to remember this was recorded over 2 years ago. That's why I haven't seen it, and a lot has changed since then, especially with the introduction of weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. I think the whole conversation has changed, so just let's keep that in mind as we watch this.
Step forward if you agree. I promote healthy standards as an influencer.
I think we need to discuss what healthy means first, because healthy means many different things. So, like, what does health mean to you guys?
For me, I don't focus on diet and weight loss as a tool for health and how I communicate that. I focus on movement and finding movement that works for you, that feels good and is sustainable in your body. Because ultimately, I think everybody would agree, movement is healthy, exercise is healthy. In the fitness world, and I myself am a yoga instructor, so I kind of straddle both sides. I think there's an overemphasis on physicality and diet and exercise.
Personally, I'm a fat guy, and I've been tired of being a fat guy. And I've actually been told that my approach to it is a little bit extreme. So, I'll do like 24-hour fasts, I'll do intermediate fasting, liquid diets, things like that. Some people say it's an unhealthy habit. They say like I got an eating disorder, but at the same time, I am seeing results. I do feel like I can run faster, jump higher, walk longer. I kind of feel like when I hear the term fat influencer, I'm thinking like an unhealthy standard being set. I just can't get behind being complacent.
Well, I want to say that it doesn't mean complacency, right? So a little bit about me is that I was a 3-sport athlete almost my entire life, went to college.
Okay, so I'm going to pause this here. So first of all, I love that they sat down and said, let's define what healthy is, because I think that's really important. I think stuff that certain people think is healthy, other people would think is unhealthy, and vice versa. Plus, there's more than just physical health. There's all different kinds of health. And I think you can lose one in pursuit of the other, in pursuit of the other. And this gentleman, who's the larger guy on the fit influencer side, man, my heart goes out to him already. I'm curious what he's going to have to say for the rest of the video, because he's obviously on a weight loss journey himself. And it seems like there's a lot of kind of self-loathing in there. Maybe it's too soon to say, but obviously he's taking a really extreme approach. Like he mentioned, he said some people might call my approach extreme. I certainly would if he's doing full 24-hour fasts and not intermittent fasting necessarily, but it sounds like he's doing stuff that is probably a pretty extreme caloric deficit. And of course he's getting results from that, but you don't get to be very overweight, generally speaking, certain exceptions aside, without having some kind of a complicated relationship with food in the first place. So it almost seems like swinging from one side to the other. And what happens when we do that is almost always it swings back. So I'm curious to hear what this guy says, because he started off by saying he was a 3-sport athlete. And I already think that's super important.
Played a sport. And then I decided, I've always been, a big person, and I was able to manipulate my weight because I also wrestled. So I would bulk up for football season, lose for wrestling, and rinse and repeat. Because of that though, now my approach is really just about making sure that you take care of your total self. So your mind and your body, and also just making sure that you check in with, medical professionals. I work in healthcare, and so I don't tend to take advice from people who are not medical professionals.
And I would just like to speak up, we're all different. Yeah, there's
Okay, so first of all, I think it's really important to recognize that all different body types can be athletes. This is one of my favorite things about our plant-built team is we have all different kinds of bodies and backgrounds, and although we all look quite different, everybody is an exceptional athlete in their own respective sport. I also think that it's important to recognize that some sports, like anything where you have to make a weight class, you often are going to have to gain and lose a lot of weight like pretty quickly, and usually pretty unhealthily as well.
fat influencers out there that have unhealthy lifestyles that share it, but that's their lifestyle. There are fat influencers that are motivational, that are trying to lose weight. There are fat influencers out there that just are existing in this world and trying to make it accommodating to themselves and people that look like them. So there are so many fat people in this world, and to label them all a certain way or to put them in a category where they have to perform to make you feel comfortable is disingenuous. It's not good.
Well, that's what kind of upset me. That's why I started my journey at the end of the day, was because, I was depressed. I lost my job in the midst of COVID, and I'm unhappy with who I am. And then I see someone on social media that's like, it's okay to be who you are. And I was like, you're telling me that the way I feel is okay, but at the end of the day, I hate how I feel. And so it was kind of out of protest that I started this journey. And I'm damn glad I did. At the end of the day, you're doing a disservice to the people around you that care about you, whether it be close, relatives, society, etc. And to see someone use a platform like that as a fellow fat kid my entire life, it just pissed me off.
I hear what you're saying, and it's valid. I've been fat my entire life. I was a fat kid, fat teenager, fat adult, just fat. And that is not my story. And I see that played out over and over and over again in the world, in art, in TV, in movies, like the sad fat trope, nobody's gonna want you, and that plays into the way we treat fat people, but that is not everybody's story. So I hear that you were sad, you were unhealthy, you were uncomfortable, you were isolated, we can all relate to that, but that is not the story of every fat person.
Okay, 100%. So as a former fat kid myself, grew up overweight, was obese by the time I was a teenager, was obese all the way through high school. And in that time, although I never woke up and was like, oh my God, I am so hot, I never ever hated myself or even put much of my self-worth into what I looked like at all at that point. So I didn't feel great. I didn't know I didn't feel great at the time because it was all I ever knew. But I never was like, woe is me. My life is so hard because I'm so fat. I never felt that way at all, even though the world kind of was trying to push that. I mean, especially we're talking about like the 90s when like waif thin was super big. And I mean, it just wasn't my experience. But you know, I do recognize what this other guy is saying. And again, I feel so strongly for him because it sounds like he's in a really hard situation. If you feel so bad about yourself that other people just saying, hey, it's okay to love yourself, it's okay to exist as you are. If that is like deeply upsetting to you, like to me, that's you got to take a look at yourself, because that's really unfortunate. Now, all of that said, I am actually a believer that spite is an excellent motivator. You know, we always talk about running towards our goals and thinking about setting our goals and achieving our goals, but there's also another way of setting goals, and that's knowing what you don't want and trying to stay away from it. So, I mean, there's validity to what everybody is saying. It's their own experiences at the end of the day. I don't know. I feel for him in my heart.
I am on a journey to like myself in my skin, and that is something I believe is obtainable through hard work and dedication. I mean, nothing else worked, you know? Loving yourself, quote unquote, made me eat KFC 3 times a day and gain a lot of weight and turn sedentary. Hating myself encouraged me to be different and encouraged me to change my life. And as a result, I've influenced thousands of kids younger than me's lives.
Okay, this is that's super sad. Hating myself is what encouraged me. That's such strong language. I think looking in the mirror or looking at your life and not liking what you see and using that as a reason to try to grow and change is one thing. Saying hating myself pushed me to change. Like, nobody is gonna hate themselves fit or healthy. Your body might change, but as somebody who lost 100 pounds, let me tell you, if you don't feel great about yourself, and I didn't, but not for how I looked, which is what I'm getting at here. If you don't like yourself, losing 100, 150, 200 pounds is not going to be the thing that makes you like yourself. And you're going to get there and you're going to be like, oh shit, now what? Like, I still don't like myself, because that's not the work. You're like chasing one thing to solve another. And you know, the fact that he's using these methods to maybe inspire kids, I don't know how I feel about that.
Fat shaming is worse than skinny shaming.
Before they even start to answer this, I 100% think that fat shaming is worse than skinny shaming. And I will tell you why after I hear from them.
When you thin shame somebody, it is based off of aesthetic. Like, oh, you're so skinny. I wish I could be like that. I wish I could eat whatever I want and stay skinny. There are these assumptions we have about people in fat bodies that we don't place on thin people, even if they're thin beyond health. And it really makes it so that fat people are overlooked, and it creates an environment where it's okay to perpetuate hate and even violence, you know?
Being thin.
Okay, so I don't know if I 100% agree with what she was saying. First of all, nothing that she said sounds like it was shamey. Maybe a little bit like of an underbite to it. Like, oh, I wish I could eat that and stay thin. Like, yeah, that's not great. But when I think of skinny shaming or fit shaming, it's like, oh my God, eat a burger. You are a bag of bones. Like, that sort of thing is skinny shaming and fit shaming or whatever, and it sucks. Please don't get me wrong. It sucks, and nobody should do it. Nobody should be commenting on anybody else's body. But to me, it doesn't even compare to fat shaming.
And won't limit you from being able to shop where you want to shop. You can walk into a clothing store, get clothes right off the rack. Sometimes even have excess. You could go up or down the rack. In my experience, those are not my options. I shop online because I wear a size 15 shoe, because I'm 6'2", and I have a very broad body.
The skinny
Okay, so he started to get to what I was going to get to. He said, you know, being thin is never going to stop you from, and then he went on to talk about clothing and buying clothing, which is true. Certainly it's easier to find like straight-sized clothing. Being thin or fit is never going to stop you from getting a job or receiving kindness from basic strangers or being overlooked for certain positions or roles or responsibilities. And again, this was the saddest thing for me about losing 100 pounds, was recognizing how much kinder the world was to me as a thin, now more conventionally attractive person. I mean, it was heartbreaking when I realized that. It made me see the world in a very different way. People that are overweight or obese will be overlooked for jobs. They'll be overlooked in, you know, a lot of dating settings. They'll just be overlooked. They could be overlooked for schooling or scholarships. Like, there's so many ways where being thin and fit is never gonna stop you from getting something, you know? And bullying on either side is never good, but when we are fat shaming somebody, it's just like adding insult to injury. The world is already hard enough for them. We don't need to make it harder. And they know. Nobody that's fat doesn't know that they're fat. We don't need to tell them.
Shaming, you know, there is that backhanded compliment. You know, you see that all the time. But when it comes to the fat shaming, you just see more negative out of it. And I just, you know, it's horrible to see.
But being fat is still taboo, believe it or not.
Yeah.
My partner and I'm a gay man dating another fat black gay man, and we have gone viral on the internet a couple times. And you know what some of the comments were? Never seen two fat people together. I get pats on the back for posting a picture at the beach with no shirt on. Why am I being patted on the back for that?
Right.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
It is true. Like, people are applauded for simply existing and being okay and not hiding, for just being who they are while being fat. It's pretty ridiculous.
Well, when I hear fat shaming, skinny shaming, all that stuff, I just think back to like middle school, high school, you know, picking on kids. It's bullying. I believe everyone goes through body dysmorphia. One of my homegirls is a model, and she's always complaining how she doesn't like the way she looks, even though like 99% of all women would probably prefer they looked like her. She hates the way she looks, and she's like, I wish my boobs were bigger. I wish my butt was bigger. I believe, you know, that's the media, that's the entertainment industry, is they have a standard of what, at the end of the day, is desired, I guess, but not everyone's built like Marilyn Monroe.
You said no.
Okay, so he mentioned that everybody deals with body dysmorphia. That's actually not true, but I would say most people do deal with body dysmorphia, especially going through adolescence. We all feel pretty awkward, but he mentions this friend that's a model that still doesn't like how she looks. 100% can relate, have many clients, know lots of professional bodybuilders who still pick themselves apart in a way that I never did when I was fat. However, she's still a model. She is conventionally beautiful enough to be a model. The world is going to be very good to her for that reason. Like, people are gonna give her things and be particularly like nice to her and go out of their way for her, and that doesn't happen very often on the flip side of that equation. And also, not everybody wants to look like that. So
99% of women would probably want to look like her. That's to me, some of the language that is the problem, is that I'm assuming that she's probably of a thinner body, right? Because she's a model, but a lot of women don't. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Your body you are the standard. You are the model. You are the beauty. Like, the fact that we think like that already is still what the problem is, and it's still why, to me, fat shaming is worse than the skinny shaming. Because, like, even our language, I know people just desire this really thin body. You know, it's like, that's the language in the language. When I get negative comments about my relationship with my partner, I kind of like to troll back. For example, if I tweet a picture of us kissing or dancing, people will spew the homophobic slurs and stuff. So I like to then just share more pictures of us kissing and really double down into it and let them know, honey, you know, we're here to stay. The girls are not going anywhere, you know, and just letting them know that I'm confident in myself. I'm happy, I'm in love, and I'm living my life.
I don't think I've ever been shamed for my body.
First of all, good for him. Like, if I posted something and people came at me every time I posted something, that would make it very hard for me to want to post anything at all.
I was always moving. I was always, you know, I stayed fit my whole life. You know, to be a fitness influencer, you have to have that image, that skinny, fit, toned look. That's really not the case. If you have the knowledge, if you have the passion to want to help people with their fitness journey, it doesn't matter. I highly believe that.
100%. This is one of my biggest gripes with the fitness industry is that people think that if you don't look a very specific way all of the time, then you don't know your shit. And that is not true whatsoever. I know for a fact I get more coaching inquiries when I'm getting ready for a bodybuilding show versus when I'm in a more muscle building phase. It sucks so much because guess what? One, I know just as much no matter which side of that equation I'm on, and actually I have much more brain power and capacity to be there for others when I'm not super shredded. So, but that's just the perception, and the perception I think is the problem.
I feel pressure to look a certain way for my followers.
Yeah, you know, I started, I'm a fat kid.
Okay, first of all, I don't buy that. I think that the other two fitness professionals probably feel the exact same way. You know, I logically know exactly what I just said, and I still feel pressure to look a certain way, not for my followers per se, but for my profession. It's important, unfortunately, because the perception is if somebody doesn't look a certain way, they don't know what they're talking about. Like if they can't walk the walk, they don't know what they're talking about, even if the other person doesn't understand what walking the walk actually looks like. Means you're not shredded all the time.
Losing weight, man. You know, I got an expectation to uphold. You know, I get people all the time, haters, that are like, oh, he's gonna quit, crash diet, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, there's kids that tell me, you know, you got me out of bed today. You're the best person on the internet. Like, I love you. If I can motivate someone, one person a day, to do something, to better themselves, I'm gonna do everything in my power to keep myself going. And that means not quitting. And that means looking a certain way, always developing, always growing. And, you know, because if I quit, I'm letting down thousands of people.
So I follow and have followed over the years many people who have gone on a big weight loss journey publicly. Like they have said on day one, hey, I'm documenting my whole journey of significant weight loss from day one, and I want you guys to follow along with me. We can inspire each other, blah, blah, blah. And I cannot imagine the amount of pressure that is right there, because it's not an easy thing to do, to lose a lot of weight and to add the pressure of doing it publicly on a platform in front of lots of other people. Like if you have a week where you don't lose, or you have a week where you gain, or you have a week where you fall off, or a couple weeks where you fall off, you know, there's people out there that are going to judge you or say you quit, or say like, oh, you can't do this, or worse, they're going to keep following you in the hopes of watching you continue to fail. I mean, look at how many people watch Amberlynn Reid simply to watch her struggle over and over and over again. I cannot even imagine the mindset of wanting to do that, but there's a lot of people that do that. I can't imagine.
I used to feel a lot of pressure, but I think with practice, you get over those pressures, you learn how to deal with it and understand that the pressure is really from yourself. It's internalized, like you're thinking about what others think of you, when in reality, they could care less. They don't even see the little things.
That's exactly it. I think we should stop worrying about what other people think.
But it's so hard. I mean, like, I could say that every day, and
it is.
I still think about what people think.
It is. We all do. But that's something that is a good challenge for all of us. You know, that's something that we need to really just try. And once we get on that road, it's not easy. We're gonna have days where we're just gonna be like, oh, he thinks, and I think. But if we can get past that, even just a little bit, it's just gonna make our lives even easier. You know, just stop worrying about other people. Worry about yourself. Yeah.
I also just feel like, you know, like everybody else, this is my account and you are a guest here. You know, I have had to learn to not be that way. So, and for Nick, I understand that, you know, your social media and your journey is very different. Like, I could clearly see how people or your following would have those expectations for you to continue to lose the weight. It's like, okay, well, we joined this guy so that we could join his journey on his weight loss. So we only want to see him doing the weight loss. Like, you better not like plateau or gain. You know, I could definitely see that.
Well, it's a sense of accountability, and it really helps me keep my shit going. Otherwise, I would have dropped out a long time ago, to be honest. And I don't do like, this is how to do a curl and things like that. I just do like how I feel. I sort of have a self-deprecating outlook on myself and how I feel. And it's sort of like a military style thing, like you're trash, like you will never be good, just give up type thing to myself.
I think that's interesting.
I can't with this rhetoric. So first of all, I am the queen of self-deprecating humor. I really enjoy some good old self-deprecating humor, but it's humor. It's tongue-in-cheek. Yes, there might be a kernel of truth to it, but mostly it's in jest, right? This just sounds so real to me. And again, it just, you know, I applaud anybody who's making the effort to change and improve, and however they need to do it is entirely their prerogative. But what do you do when it's over? What do you do when the followers have lost interest? What do you do when you're not holding yourself accountable by posting online? What do you do when you're thin and at your goal weight and you still feel like you're trash and you're nothing and you're no one? It gets really hard then, really hard.
You say that because the content that I post is not just for people, it's mostly for me, and it's part of my own, it's like, it's cathartic to see myself in like sweating, like trying to do a headstand and falling, or looking glam for an event, and everything between. So being authentic and like showing up as I am, whether people like it or not, or expecting it or not, is an exercise in self-love. It helps me accept myself.
I think those are all really great points. What she said and what the other gentleman sitting next to her said, like, it's their account. They can post what they want, which is definitely true. But I feel like, you know, we all do feel pressure to post something interesting, post our best selves, post whatever. And then the fit influencers saying like, no, I don't feel pressure. And then to sit down and be like, but I definitely think about what other people think. Well, then I think you do feel pressure personally.
Really shy as a kid, and also, you know, overweight or fat. I think the misconception is that I wasn't intelligent and that I was lazy. Like, that's a lot of the bullying I got, right? Yeah, I don't think I dealt with it well. It wasn't until later in life where I started to kind of reject that narrative.
Weight loss programs are toxic.
Fitness promoters are promoting these weight loss programs or these diets that aren't working for everyone. And it's kind of sad to see, because it's really affecting people and like the way they see fitness and health, and it's toxic.
I think, and the focus is always, or it seems to be like, just lose the weight, just lose the weight, just lose the weight, and then you'll be happy and everything will be okay and you'll feel good and you'll fit into that. But it's like, whoa, I can lose all that weight and I could still be miserable.
Personally, in my journey,
That's it right there. The fitness industry is, first of all, they are constantly selling the idea that you need to get smaller. Everybody needs to get smaller. Please get smaller, 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 smaller. And they're doing it in such an unsustainable way that, yes, you might get smaller, but then you're also going to gain it all back. So that why? So they can sell you another program. And, you know, if you don't address the underlying issues of what got you to be unhealthy in the first place, then you're just going to repeat the cycle forever. And you can absolutely get thin and be miserable. And I know, because that's exactly what happened to me. And then the real work began.
One of my biggest points is I do not use a scale, because goals to me are limitations. And when you hit that goal, you get comfortable, AKA complacent. You're like, oh, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds and then I'm good. And so I don't focus on the weight, I focus on everything else. I focus on, getting out of bed, that routine of going to the gym, the routine of eating healthy, that normal feeling of like a caloric deficit and things like that.
That's a good way to do it.
So at first I was like, oh my God, I love it. I love that he's saying he doesn't use the scale. But then I realized he's saying he doesn't use a scale because he's afraid he'll stop losing weight too early or something. Like, I like the idea. I mean, I use a scale. I personally use a scale. I find a lot of value in it. I think there is a lot of value in, oops, bumped my camera. I think there is a lot of value in knowing how to properly use a scale and read the data and not get too emotional about it. But to not use it because you might actually like stop and feel okay about yourself for a minute is probably not the reason that I would suggest not using a scale.
I'm a fitness trainer too, and I tell my clients, I'm like, the scale really doesn't tell you much. You're gonna fluctuate. It's water weight, it's a lot to it. You gotta look at yourself in the mirror. You gotta see those physical changes.
I don't even think it's the physical changes, because I'm gonna be straight up, I probably had body dysmorphia for a little bit, and I would always like check myself in the mirror. Like after eating, I would check myself because I wanted to keep a six-pack because the fitness industry told me that I needed a six-pack. You hear fitness influencer and like the first thing you think is like weight loss program, selling a course. And I purposely wore this shirt this morning just to see like if there would be any extra bias. One thing I noticed about fitness, being in this space for so long, is that just because you're into fitness doesn't mean you're into health.
So much, yes. So hearing the fitness influencers talk about their own body dysmorphia, I think is huge. Again, because oftentimes I find that the body dysmorphia comes more and more the fitter or leaner, or however you want to put it, you get, the more body dysmorphia you have. I didn't have any body dysmorphia when I was large. I just knew I was large and I was correct. And then the thinner I got, the more I thought that my body wasn't enough. And then the leaner I got, the less I could see it. And this is true of a lot of people who are chasing a certain fitness aesthetic. The body dysmorphia comes as you get leaner and more shredded, not the other way around.
I told everyone that I dealt with body dysmorphia, and I think in terms of dealing with it, it's just learning that my value is not completely tied to my appearance. There's so many other things that I can see value in myself now. I really do enjoy the autonomy I have over my own health and my own wellness.
Yes, it is very easy for somebody who works in the fitness industry to let fitness become their entire personality. And then if their entire identity is tied to their body and their physique, what happens when it changes? Because our physiques are going to change every day for the rest of our lives. What do you do when it changes? So I like hearing that he kind of worked through that and found some other value besides what he looked like.
I have suffered from eating disorders.
Ooh, let's see.
I didn't realize it
This is so fascinating to see them all sit down, but I am not even 1% surprised.
until a couple years after, but I was tracking like every food. I did track calories, macros. Man, I had my scale and I would bring it like to the college's dining hall. I would like weigh everything, and it would get to the point where I would either eat before going out, like if I knew my friends were gonna go out to eat, I would eat at home so I could measure all the food out, put it into MyFitnessPal, and then go out and not eat with them. Or I would probably just not go out at all.
Food and fitness really took over my life for a few years. I was super, super obsessed with just, getting that goal weight or looking good and everything like that. And I found myself just super depressed. And I, didn't eat the foods I wanted to eat. And I over-exercised and I wasn't myself. It was just a horrible point in my life. And I had to go see a doctor. I had to get that help mentally.
It is So interesting to me. You know, when we think of eating disorders, people think like anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder. But somebody who is absolutely obsessed with tracking every little thing that they eat and monitoring every single calorie that they burn, that is also an eating disorder, and it can take over your entire mind, your entire world, so you no longer have a social life. You're not necessarily like starving yourself or overeating, but the headspace that is taken up by obsessively monitoring all of your input and all of your output, that is not good for you whatsoever.
It wasn't there. So these things are real. Like, this stuff happens and people don't reach out enough.
The last time I had really.
And what's worse, I think, when people see that, they say, oh my God, you have so much dedication. You have so much discipline. I wish I could be as disciplined as you. And I know, because when I got really into fitness, when I was about 19, 20 years old, this is what I was dealing with. And I took pride in it. I had so much discipline. I only ate like the cleanest foods, which sounds funny to say now. I knew everything I was eating. I would not go out with people, or if I went out, I wouldn't order anything because that just wasn't something that I ate. And everybody would just applaud me and be like, oh my God, I wish I could do that. I wish I could be as strict and diligent as you. But what they couldn't see was how much I was suffering inside. The anxiety over every little thing that I did, the anxiety if I ate something that, wasn't on my internal approved list of foods. Oh my God. And the inevitable fact that eventually you will eat something that isn't on your clean list of foods. And how do you handle that? Let me tell you, when you haven't had a French fry in 6 months and then you have a French fry, you don't have a French fry. You have all the French fries, and then you have all of something else and all of something else. And it's this huge binge and you hate yourself. And then you're like, I'm just gonna get back to it and eat cleaner and track everything. And like, that is an eating disorder.
Restricted my eating. I needed to lose like almost 30 pounds in like 11 days. And I did that, and I stepped on the wrestling mat and I had absolutely no strength. I had no energy, no strength. I got whooped. I got tossed up and down the mat. And then after that, I told myself that I would never do it again. But of course, out of bad habits, I just picked up another bad habit and then began to enjoy binge eating. And then it was like, okay, well, now I'm not restricting anything, and now everything goes.
And how are you now?
Now I'm much better. Therapy, medication, everyday practicing, doing the right kinds of things. I'm much better now.
So I think that, first of all, for anybody to lose 30 pounds in 11 days is insane. You are losing so much water at that point. You're going to be so dehydrated at the end of it that it doesn't surprise me at all that he felt like crap the day that he actually had to compete. But also, again, you swing really hard one way, you're going to swing really hard the other way. I also think that a lot of people, when they stop competing in the sports they competed in, so whether that's high school or college, a lot of people do just actually end up gaining weight because they're still eating like they're doing all these sports, even though they're not doing all these sports anymore. And that is really hard for people to reconcile with, like, but I'm an athlete, but they're getting bigger and bigger, and I want to point out that even though he says I'm doing much better now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's done. And I think that's really important to talk about with these so-called fat influencers, is just because they are kind to themselves and appreciating themselves where they are right now doesn't necessarily mean that they're 100% happy with where they're at and that they aren't trying to make a change, and maybe they are, and that's totally fine. But to just assume that because somebody is trying to be happy and live their life while they exist as a fat person means that they're promoting obesity or trying to convince everybody else to be fat is so untrue. You just cannot make that assumption.
I suffered from an eating disorder. I had childhood trauma, and it took me until my adulthood to realize I was pacifying with food, and that's something that was taught to me. And then on the other end of that, with extreme dieting, like I did the HCG protocol, where you eat 500 calories a day and give yourself an injection for months on end. And so I have done the full spectrum.
The 500 calorie diet, was that something with like a medical professional that they recommended?
Yeah.
How-
The number of insane diets that I have heard doctors recommend to people I know or my clients, but then I'll be like, oh, can you ask your doctor blah, blah, blah thing? And they'll be like, the doctor said that's not a great idea. And I'm like, but this is the same doctor that said XYZ thing. So, the truth is that most primary care physicians are just not very well educated in nutrition. And it sucks, but it's true.
What was that? Like,
It was traumatic. It drove me into a spiral. Like, I can relate to what you're saying about like bringing your scale and eating before you went out with your friends, because that was me. It's really, it's taken so much time for me to get to a point to even know what I like to eat. And it took me until like 25, 30 to even realize, okay, I don't actually like eating that. I actually don't like this. I like this. And it's been really healing to like reclaim my relationship with food and to say like, okay, this is what I like and this is what makes me feel really good.
as a fitness influencer, what are some things I can do that helps out the other side, which would be fat
I love this
influencers?
question.
What are like certain things that you guys promote that you could see me promoting?
Really want people to stop looking at fat people and all of a sudden becoming medical professionals and telling me about high blood pressure and diabetes, because again,
Okay, so I think this is relevant to this audience because if you're watching this and you're vegan, you know that when you tell somebody that you are vegan, all of the sudden they have all of this knowledge of nutrition and they will bestow it upon you and let you know of all of the horrific deficiencies that are down the road for you. And you know that that is not true. I do think that in general, a lot of people do the exact same thing to fat people where they see somebody larger, maybe they're trying to lose weight and they're like, hey, let me tell you some stuff. Let me tell you some secrets. I saw a comedian. Oh my God, she was so fun. Oh, what did I just do? I saw a comedian. It was really, really funny. She was an overweight woman and she was talking about how she was trying to lose weight and she was telling her friends and her friends were like, well, all you have to do is just eat a little bit less and move a little bit more. And she was like, I'm not fat because I'm stupid. I didn't think cake was gonna make me thinner. Like, again, people who are fat know they're fat. They know what they have to do. In fact, I would say that a lot of fat people know more about nutrition than a lot of straight-sized people because they have spent so much of their life trying to learn about it. But you can know all the facts about something but still struggle to actually implement those things. So I think just making assumptions about people based on their bodies, period, is a shitty thing to do because we also assume that if we see somebody who's fit or lean or ripped, that means that they're healthy, and it absolutely does not mean that they're healthy. They might be, they might not be. They might have just lost a bunch of weight because they have cancer. They might be in the throes of such a painful, horrific eating disorder that you don't even know about. They could just be genetically gifted, be lean and muscular, and eat garbage all the time and never eat a vegetable. So you can't just, put somebody into a moral camp of good or bad, whether they're overweight or not.
you're not a medical professional, right? Like let's let the fat people do the mukbangs too, Like if you want to do one, that is so cool. But if a fat person wants to do one, let us just do it in peace. That would be my takeaway. Because you never.
That's a whole separate conversation. Mukbangs. Hey guys, if there's other videos you want me to react to, I would love to. Mukbangs, which is when somebody eats a large meal on camera. I gotta stop doing that. When it is a thin person that eats a tremendous amount of food, we all sit back in awe, like, wow, look at how much she's eating and she's still so thin. But if we see a very large person eating that same sized meal, a lot of people are like, ugh, gross. Nobody wants to see that. Like, what is that? What is wrong with people?
You know what we're doing behind the scenes. You don't know how many therapists, how many doctors, dietitians. You have no idea how many things that we've had.
I want to know a little bit more about the beauty standard on, we're in 2021 and it's not like back in the day now. Are we making the right direction? Is that good?
I think it's reactive. It's good. Like,
Yeah.
visibility is important. I've talked about this before earlier. I think that we all deserve to be represented, no matter what we look like, no matter what the status of our health. We should all see each other, ourselves in the world.
10 out of 10 agree. And I think that goes for, we've seen thin people in our media anyway for a very long time. Now we're seeing, yes, we are seeing like larger bodies, but they're all still, like, to me, very much the same body. They have big boobs, little waist, big butt. That's actually not what most people's fat bodies look like. Like, most large people are not thick and curvy. They maybe all their weight goes to their stomach and nothing goes to their arms or their legs. Like, there's so many different types of bodies. I mean, I'm like an upside down triangle, basically. My shoulders and my back are so wide, and my legs really struggle to put on size. There's so many different types of bodies, but we just seem to see the same few bodies over and over again.
So I think, yeah, there is progress being made. There are brands that are making sizes that more people can wear. We are seeing body diversity on magazines and things like that, but it's very reactive and it's very tied into commerce and marketing.
Yeah.
So is it real? I don't know, but it's part of our culture and it's slowly shifting for whatever reason. Like, regardless, it will eventually have an impact on society as a whole. So yes and no.
Is it going to promote people?
And I would say, again, this was filmed 2 years ago. I think the landscape is changing even more now because of the Ozempic, Wegovy, whatever weight loss drug craze. I think that a few years ago, most overweight people felt very pressured to just always be body positive. Like, I love myself no matter what I look like. It's perfectly healthy to be 400 pounds. There was a lot of this out there, and now I feel like we're seeing a lot of swing back. A lot of those same people either are starting to face some health problems themselves, or now that weight loss is like theoretically on the table for them via these weight loss drugs, now they're kind of speaking a little bit differently about it. It's just, I don't really have strong feelings about it one way or the other. I just think it's kind of an interesting thing to witness.
People to think it's okay to be overweight.
Here's the thing, people have been fat since people have existed.
Yeah.
I don't think that showing us as we are is going to have a negative impact. We are here. We have always been here. You can go to the Louvre and see sculptures of fat people. Fat people have always been around.
Being a fitness influencer, it's good to see that perspective from everyone too. We all have our differences, but as long as we stay on the path that we want to stay on, healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, we're going to be okay. And it's okay to get help. It always is okay to get help.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, mind your own business. Like, that's really how I feel. And that might surprise people because I am a fitness coach. I am a nutrition coach. This is what I do for a living, is I help people change. But I don't tell people to change. And I think that is a really, really important thing. It's not my job to tell you what your goals should be. It's not my job to tell you something is wrong with you and maybe you should be more like me. At all. There's people that look nothing like me that have no interest in ever looking like me. Believe me, they tell me that they have no interest in getting the muscle that I have, which is funny because I would like more muscle, but I digress. It's not my place to worry about what anybody else looks like whatsoever. What they have chosen to do with their health or their bodies is completely up to them. And, just keep your opinions to your goddamn self. That's my opinion. That's my opinion on other people's opinions. So anyway, guys, this was really fun, kind of long. I'm probably going to edit out clips of this so it's not an almost hour-long video, but I like this. This was fun for me. I love watching videos about this. And if you guys are interested in more of these, if you enjoy them, let me know. The only thing the route I don't want to go down is a lot of reaction videos turn into just drama between multiple creators. I'm all set, not interested in doing that. So anyway, I hope you guys like it. Feel free to reach out to us, VeganProteins.com. If you're interested in any kind of coaching, we do have a muscle building challenge coming up at the end of this month. Giacomo's doing a live webinar about building muscle as a vegan. You can always email us, coach@veganproteins.com. If you have any requests, I want to hear them down below. All right, if you like the video, be sure to like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, all the things I'm supposed to tell you to do at the end of a YouTube video, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.